Hey everyone, welcome back to the Rollout. I'm Lindsay Rousseau.
And I'm Genevieve Marie. Hello and welcome.
We have a very, very exciting. I know I say this every time. Every episode is exciting, but this one is like really exciting. So if you haven't watched the other ones, it's okay. Just watch this one. Today we are joined by the amazing Davy Perez. If you don't know who he is yet, you're about to find out, and you are going to be like amazed with the things that this man has done in his career. Davy, why don't you just introduce yourself? Thank you for being here.
Of course. Thank you for having me. Hi, I'm Davy Perez, writer, currently co-EP on Star Trek Strange New Worlds. And I worked on Supernatural for 4 years before that. And a lot of other great shows like American Crime and Fargo. And I answered a lot of phones and got a lot of people coffee and worked my way up to be where I'm at. And I'm just so excited to be here. And thank you for having me.
Yeah. I mean, you're kind of worked your way up. I mean, you're now a co-EP on a Star Trek franchise, not just any Star Trek franchise. So for those who don't know, New Worlds it's the prequel to the OG Star Trek. And there are so many callbacks to the original series. We're meeting a lot of the same characters, but they're a lot younger now. And of course, Supernatural was like the longest running show ever. I mean, I was a huge Supernatural fan. So I'm like, I think you've done well for yourself.
Yeah, I was very fortunate, and I worked hard and I was very fortunate. It's sort of the intersection of where hard work meets luck. I played Star Trek when I was a little kid and was a huge fan of the original series. And remember when TNG came out and I was watching it. So to be on this show in particular, it's a sequel to Discovery, but it's a prequel to the original series. And it is playing with all of the stuff I grew up loving and watching. And now I get to make canon, which is insane to think that I can have an idea and it becomes part of the pantheon of Star Trek canon. That's it, mind blowing. And then to come from Supernatural, which was 15 seasons, more than 300 episodes. I remember when in 2004, I think was its first season. I was a struggling artist at the time and was like, working. And it was even check to check. It was check to when is my next check coming, and and I was like, seeing the billboards or was seeing the ads. I was like, that looks like a show I would like. But I wasn't really. I was working so hard. I really didn't have time to watch television then. And then finding it later after it already had a couple seasons and going, this show's still around. Oh, what is this show about? And then to think 10 years later, I'm getting the but that's a long time already, right? So I had a whole 10 years to figure out my life and my career, and the show was still on, and I get to apply and meet people, and it's crazy. This life is a crazy life. It really is.
So I imagine you said you grew up with Star Trek. I imagine all of that knowledge has just only helped with what you're doing now. I mean, how much do you feel like, because you said you can create your own canon, how much do you feel like you're really trying to pull on some of that knowledge that you have, and how much are you wanting to just be like creating new cool things?
I don't know. I'd say it's a 50-50. I thank you for framing it as knowledge. I always think it's like fanboy geekery.
Well, then we all have a lot of fanboy geekery in our heads right now.
Right. Use a lofty phrase like knowledge. I guess in this work environment for the show, it counts, right?
Yeah.
I like going back actually because I'll be like, oh, wait, I remember there was an episode. There's no way I could remember there were space hippies, right? And then I go back, I'm like, oh, there were space hippies. That's right. So I work with amazing people that are encyclopedic with and they've watched all of them. I can't say that I've watched, all of Voyager or all of Enterprise. And, I've watched, original series, Next Generation, good chunk of DS9. So you could bring up a thing like, oh, the episode with space hippies, and then they'll tell you that aired this date on that date, and it was this episode. And I'm like, okay, cool. I'm so glad you're in the room because we need that.
Right.
Yeah.
But then for me, I'm just like, where could I mine fun, episode ideas and update it and use it to inform the story that we're trying to tell for the character now. And like, you don't want to get so weighted down by the service to the canon. What you want is the canon to kind of inform your creativity, and then you're gonna just build a new story out of it. And yeah, I'm not very conscious of like, ooh, I gotta create new canon, or ooh, I'm gonna create a backstory, or let's but it's fun to do those things and to learn about people's pasts,
Right. You have to find things to service the story. So this new show, it's about Captain Pike, yeah?
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Um
So that's the generation that we're in.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I remember as a kid, so the menagerie, you're a kid watching Star Trek and they're going through fun alien planets. And then this episode airs where there's a guy in a chair, and he's a scary looking guy, and his lights blinking, and you're like, what is that? And it's Captain Pike. And then there's the Telosians. You get the flashback of him being thrown in a cave by the Telosians. I remember being scared of that episode. It kind of freaked me out as a young kid, but it made such an impression on me. That as soon as Captain Pike showed up on Discovery, I was like, oh fuck, that's Captain Pike. That's the guy. Oh, can I say fuck? I guess you too, right?
Yeah.
That's the guy in the blinky chair, right? I knew that's how I thought of him. It's the guy in the blinky chair. And then they did that storyline on Discovery, and I just thought that was so cool. And then they had young Spock, and then it was even better when I heard that they were going to do this show, and that they might have me come and play in that universe. And so that era, there's a lot of things about the original series that it was aspirational and for its time, and trying to make social commentary at a time of a lot of unrest and a lot of disconnect. And we've had a lot of conversations in the room to consciously be aware that we are in a similar time, but we're updated. And so we're not going to rehash stories that they might have already done, because it was a different way and a different message that they were trying to say for their issues.
Right.
Well, we should be conscious of it because we're in a similar time, but also it was fun, and you wanted to be on that ship, and it wasn't hitting you over the head. And it was, I think a lot of times it was just sort of creating conversations versus pointing you to a message, right? It's just, it's like, it has a message, creates a conversation, have those conversations, not this is how you should feel about the episode you just watched, which is a slight difference, and so I tend to err more in that kind of writing of, I know how I feel about it, I know the message I hope you get from it, but I ultimately want you just to have a good time watching the show, and maybe you'll talk about the message and maybe you won't.
Right. That's awesome. Without giving anything away, obviously, could you go in a little bit more in depth about that aspect of the show? Because Linsay and I were actually talking about Picard in the way that we kind of wish that it did that in a lot of areas. And we felt that was one of the areas, the spaces that it was lacking in. Sorry, my cat's climbing up on the table.
Oh, it's okay. Well, I think we are fortunate to be episodic. It's easy to have a lesson of the week when you are a story of the week. When you're telling a serialized story, you have a long overarching journey, and you're following a character, and there's different things you have to service. What's the bad guy of the week? What's the message of the week? What's the planet problem of the week? And within that, you can have a moral, because it is a one single serving kind of adventure.
Right.
And I don't necessarily start in that place, but in the back of my head, there's always this, like, what's the point of this story? What's the point of this episode? Is it just all action adventure? Is it all just fan service, or is there something to be said about how people deal with trauma, or how people overcome fear, or how people work together to accomplish something? And those are just simple positive messages that anyone can identify with and anyone can agree with. It's great to work together to accomplish something. Yes, we both can agree with that. Great. Doesn't matter who you vote for. We can agree that working together is better than not working together, you know.
Yeah, I actually am really excited to hear that it is episodic. I've been missing that in my Star Trek, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, we've heard a lot of response to that that the old formula, hasn't necessarily been around for a long time, and so I think we're very lucky that we get to be the ones to say, okay, let's bring that mantle back. And that was when I was meeting with Henry Alonzo Myers and Akiva Goldman. That was very much how they wanted to do the show. They had that as the format. This is going to be a episodic Star Trek show, and I was, I was coming off of an episodic show. And at the time, was that your cat? Oh my God. Look at
he was about to knock over a whole bunch of things. I am so sorry about that.
Oh, okay. I've got a pet at home. I love pets. Yeah, so I was talking about kind of like my coming to the show, and I was coming off an episodic show, which was fun to work on. But I was like, do I want to get on a serialized show again? Do I want to write something, dark and edgy, because I'm a genre writer, but I'm also sort of, pulp writer. And I heard this opportunity was available to me, and I met on it, and I heard their plan for the show. I heard who they wanted to bring in as a big bad a little bit, and I heard what they wanted to do week to week, and I was like, and it's Star Trek, and I was like,
yeah.
And it's and then all the other things that Pike and young Spock, and how can I not take this opportunity? I can let them know how excited I was about it. I was like, maybe I'll think about this. I have other things I might want to do, and I'm dying inside, going like, please hire me, please call me back.
Yeah, that's a hard thing to turn down. To be honest, for any fan,
like, come join us. Come join the starship. Come to the crew.
Yeah.
Like, come, and like it's been amazing. Ever since. The first year was a Zoom room. We were writing all on Zoom, and I was just sort of months and months writing, and then finally, because it was a lot of COVID protocols, I really couldn't go up to set for a while, almost a year, if you can believe that. I think I'm getting my time right. And then finally going up to set, and then being on the bridge, and you're on the bridge, and there's the chair, and you're like, no one's around. I'm going to sit in the chair, and I'm going to get pictures in the chair, and meeting all the people that are bringing it to life. And it's just been amazing.
Fanboys, they're all over the spectrum. Some are going to hate it no matter what. Some are going to love it. But because this is an established universe, what are some of the things that you're constantly having to think about when you're developing these episodes?
It's funny in an interesting way. I always make the joke that Supernatural developed my armor, because Supernatural has such a huge fan base, and very interactive, very passionate, and very engaged, and getting to write for that show and craft stories, and being there as that show is coming to an end. You develop a muscle for appreciating the fans, but also just writing the best story that you can. So a lot of the early worries that you had, are they going to like it, are they not going to like it, who's going to react poorly to it, who's going to react positively to it, you develop a muscle for not necessarily getting distracted by those things. And what you start to learn is, if you really focus on the characters and the story, and you just do basically your job, and you do it, and you try to do it well, you tend to get more positive reaction than reactions that might frazzle you. And I'm not frazzled very easily. I think people have opinions, and whether I agree with them or not, it's, that's their opinion. And if I don't agree with it, I don't have to put stock in it. And if I agree with it, I can experience it and enjoy it, but I also don't want to be defined by other people's opinions of me, I guess. I just want to keep trying and growing. So that's more what I think about as far as when I'm writing is this the best choice? How can I make this better? Was this servicing the character? Did I really do the work? Let me go back and look at that scene. Can this scene be better? How do I make it tighter? And then it doesn't belong to me anymore. And then it, it belongs to the production people who put it together, and the director who has to bring it to life, and the actors who have to say the words. So like giving it over constantly, and having done that, multiple times because of my career now, then we all give it over to the fans, and then the fans receive it, and then it's just not yours anymore.
Yeah, you have to definitely choose what you're going to be precious about.
Yeah.
Especially in your position.
But then in a weird way, it all turns, it does full circle, and then you're like, yeah, that came out of my head. And it's just, it's amazing.
Yeah, that's got to be a really gratifying, process to go through, even though it's probably harrowing on some points, but it's
a little like heroin. You get addicted to it. Yeah.
The end product, I'm sure, is.
You didn't catch my pun. I thought I was being funny.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No.
I did not.
Yeah, you said heroin, and you said harrowing. I said it's a little like heroin. It's addicting.
Oh, oh my gosh.
Sorry.
Yes,
go on. I apologize.
And of course, my cat just nipped me. I'm like, oh yeah, I know. I missed the joke, buddy.
Yeah. So I know from a little squirrel that you also play Dungeons and Dragons. So just, rumors I've heard. But I mean, because Genevieve and I always talk like, we are geeks, we are lifelong geeks. It's influenced our journeys in life. I mean, you obviously grew up a very creative person, but are you a lifelong geek? Like, were you one of those people that you got into D&D back during the Redbox days?
No, what? I mean, my brother introduced me to Dungeons and Dragons, my older brother, when I was 6 or 5. Like, he was playing it with some friends, and the Redbox in the book, and I didn't get it, I didn't play it regularly, but that was my first experience with it. And it was like, what is this magical thing that they're playing? And rolled some dice, and like they had little figures and everything. And then, it came back into my life. Actually, I played the Ghostbusters role-playing game in middle school, because that was more kid-friendly, Dungeons and Dragons. This was during the Satanic Panic, right? You can't have kids playing Dungeons and Dragons. So I had to play the Ghostbusters role-playing game. Played the Marvel Universe superheroes with my cousins. And I would, that's when I started to DM. I would, game master them through scenarios. And so storytelling, essentially, already as a kid, and keeping it fun and silly, and seeing my cousins just laugh was like, was the best thing ever, right? And then 12, 13, I was hanging out with these older guys that were like 18, 20, and that's when I started to really sling some dice, and we had some epic sessions. We were playing AD&D at that point. And my friend there was a map on the table, there was candles, he set the mood. He was an amazing dungeon master. And hours, and that's when I started playing Magic the Gathering, because we would often have new players come in and out, and so he would have to create characters on the fly with them. And as you know, character creation can take its time. And so my other buddy was like, hey, there's this card game, and this little deck of cardboard that has radically changed my life. Also addicted to that like it's no end. And we would play Magic the Gathering, and this had to be 94, 95. So Legends just had come out, and Ice Age, all these old sets. I wish I had those cards, but I don't. I have new cards that are also old, but lifelong geek for sure. The long way of answering that question. It's always, things like Trek, things like Dungeons and Dragons, comic books, and horror movies. You know, my sister and I would stay up late to watch Monsters and Tales from the Dark Side. And that
Ooh, yes.
that theme song still creeps me out when you hear the chills. So just informed by that kind of, you know, dark kind of cool counterculture.
Yeah, I would like to circle back to the fact that you said that you couldn't play Dungeons and Dragons because Satanic Panic. So instead you played Ghostbusters, which
you played Ghosts.
Arguably closer to Satan than
But Slimer was cute.
Dungeons.
I like
Dragons.
the irony.
Yeah, right, exactly. Like this
Beautiful.
game is about killing bad monsters, and this game is about interacting with paranormal, you know. But it's got a cute Slimer creature on it, and so we. Also, I think I was playing that at recess at school, and maybe I wasn't playing it at home, so maybe I was sneaking the role playing. You know, that's to your point. The Marvel superheroes one I could play at home. That one that's Spider-Man, Dr. Octopus.
Yeah, that is absolutely fantastic. Yeah. I think we can all trace back, what we want to do to the things that we really loved growing up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how it influences our journey. I mean, it's so exciting when, because we've had, so many amazing guests on this show, and hearing how their passion for geeky stuff as a kid is what kind of put them on a trajectory to where they are now. And, geek is chic now, I guess.
I mean, you kind of have to wonder.
We're the cool kids.
And question, I guess, you have to wonder, like, chicken or egg sort of thing. Like, do we have as many geeky things now? Is it geek is chic because of the fact that we had these things growing up? And so we learned early on as children that these are the things that we wanted to make and do, or like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. I mean, our parents, at least for me, I'm a little older, are the TV generation, right? They're the generation that a TV was brought into their home, and then advertisements were being projected into their brains at mid storytelling, and that was the birth of pop culture, right? And so we are the product of pop culture parents, and now it just so happens that the geek is just that mainstream pop culture. I'm not trying to get all too deep with it, but it is interesting that the media and storytelling is kind of defined our off-screen culture in a major way, and even like I just had a memory about Star Trek specific. When I was like 17, the first video short film I made, I got my parents' VHS recorder, and I made a 2-minute short where I was Captain Kirk, my sisters and who were like 5, 8, and 6 or something like that were Bones, Chekhov, and Spock. My brother was also. It was my 2 sisters and my brother, and then my other sister was off screen with the keyboard doing all the sound effects. Oh, nice. And I did. It was this. I wish I still had that video, but
I was gonna say I really want to see this now.
It was just me with a little bit of swagger in a chair, and I was just sort of talking like Kirk, and then my younger sister Cindy was Bones, and she just like was Captain, and she did a great job. She knocked it out of the park. My younger brother was Spock because he was just sort of like pale and skinny looking, and then my sister, who was 4, who had a lisp because she was 4, was Chekhov, and because she had the lisp, and so it was just like it was amazing.
Typecasting.
Yeah, I still remember part of that script. It's interesting how the stuff that you've attained.
That's so cute.
And that you went from there to where you are now.
To playing with The real deal. Oh my God, is that a cat that just shook?
That's
That was
another
a cat giving you a
That
high
would
five
be-
for my anecdote. I love it.
She, I have a double desk, and she
Oh
lays
my
on
God.
she lays on the top part and then crashes
It's
all
like
of my
she's coming out of
Zooms.
space though. She's eating the Enterprise.
That's what you read. And that was the big bad that really hooked you, right?
Yeah, that was it. That was the one. And I got to introduce the big bad in my episode. So that was what I was really excited about.
Yay. So yes, if you are watching this episode now, it is Friday the 27th. Your episode, which is episode 4, will have dropped on the 24th. So
you would know the dates. I don't know.
26. I don't know. It's
a Thursday.
Tuesday.
Yeah.
So Thursday, the 26th. Yes. So yes, we will not give any spoilers away, but the
well, can we talk with this? This is going to air after the.
Yeah, it's going to air after. So
right.
You are allowed.
According
well, you guys have
to
watched it, right?
The email I received from Paramount execs, we are allowed to.
So
talk
you watched
about
it, right?
Hold on. Let me. I've watched. Well, we didn't get episode 4. We just got episodes 1 through 3. The embargo lifts at 6 a.m. Thursday, the date of the episode. So this is Friday. So yes, we can now talk about things.
But so we could talk about it in this episode, but then until this episode, you cannot talk about it with other people.
Yes, none of this will go on the social media.
So when I met with Akiva Goldman, he said, Davy, what's some of your favorite episodes? And I said, Balance of Terror and Arena. And he's like, Arena, that's interesting because I want to do the Gorn. And I was like, hell yes, I want to do the Gorn with you. I need to be on the show. And so I got to write the Gorn. Then that's what episode 4's big bad is. And the episode ends in a way that definitively tells us that they're still out there. And who knows if they'll come back? Who knows if we'll be ready for them when they do, or if they do. But just getting to write the new canon, our canon, expand on the, we all love the slow lizard that's trying to kill Kirk in the desert, and the Vasquez Rocks cannon gun that he makes with diamonds and gunpowder. But I get to do the cool Strange New Worlds version of that villain, and I'm over the moon.
We are a big fan of the Gorn in my household.
Yeah, so we did the Gorn, and if you're gonna do the Gorn, why not do them again? That's my philosophy, but we'll see.
Yeah. So before we wrap up here, is there anything else exciting that you want to touch on, either that people can look forward to in this show, obviously NDAs excluded, or anything else that you might have in the works?
I mean, I've been working on Star Trek pretty exclusively for the last 2 years. Creating the show has been an amazing time, but I get very involved with the things that I do. So I'm in Toronto right now, in prep on season 2, episode 208, which is the second episode that I have gotten to write in season 2. One thing I will just sort of really bang the gong on, and this isn't necessarily new information, but I will just double down on people hearing this from various sources, that we really wanted each episode to have its own genre. And so the first couple of episodes, you could see the genre that's in there, but there was we're introducing a new show to people. We don't radically want to blow your mind by taking a left turn all of a sudden, but there is a social allegory. There is a contagion story. There is ancient alien story. There is which is a submarine kind of story. And then, we'll do other genres. We're going to do comedy. I'm a horror writer. I'll say that. So maybe there's a horror genre in our future. Who can say? But we really want to take those swings. And so as season 1 progresses, you'll definitely start to, we don't like become a different show because we're our show. It's always about a strange new world, but those strange new worlds will definitely have their own genre that's defined in the episode. Which is so much fun to write. And
I love that.
You know,
that sounds so exciting. I love this.
Yay. On that note, thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate you taking the time during your very, very busy schedule, I know. Is there anywhere people can follow you if they want to stay up to date with what you're doing?
I've got the Instagram is Davy Perez. Twitter is at Davy Perez. Because I'm working analog now in real life, I've gotten less and less active, but I try to post things when I can. You'll see me liking and retweeting quite a bit. Who knows how long I'll get to continue to play in this universe, or what other parts of this universe I might get to play in, or what interesting things I might get to do on my own. But for now, I'm very happy here, very happy to engage with fans when I can, and just happy to bring the love and create stories for everyone.
Well, on that note, Genevieve, you want to take us out?
Shall we all try it this time? All right. So we have a sign off that we do, and we are very bad at it, but maybe with your help, we can get it right for once. So we are supposed to say, this is the rollout, and we will geek with you next week.
This is the rollout, and we will geek with you next week. Okay.
Yes. I will count us down.
Okay.
All right. Are all parties ready? All right, cool. We got the go. 3, 2, 1. This is the rollout.
This is the rollout.
And we will geek
with you
next week. Look at us.
Yes,
we did it. But we got it all. We got all the words.
Mission accomplished.
I think we can say cut the feed.
Cut the feed. All right, everyone. We'll see you next week.
Cut the feed.